buenos días amigos, a los que están aquí en Miami, a los que están en Europa, buenas tardes. Aquí estamos hoy con mi gran amiga Mayi de la Vega. Mayi es una gran entrepreneur, es una mujer de mucho empuje que durante toda su vida ha hecho cosas maravillosas para llegar a este punto donde está. Así que hoy voy a tener el placer de presentárselas y de hablar con ella y de también eventualmente oír sus preguntas para las cosas que ustedes los oyentes quieran saber de Mayi. Hola Mayi, bienvenida. Gracias por estar con nosotros. No, ya, nosotros por tenerte aquí, que siempre es un placer hablar contigo. Tú sabes que tú y yo, ¿no? Okay, I think you're better off in English.
Totally.
Totally. So we're going to do this in English, and you will hear, you will have the translations very soon in Spanish for the people who don't speak English. So we're going to do this in English for Mayi's benefit, okay?
Thank you.
Well, tell us first, because I know you are successful, that you have a great company, one Sotheby's in Old South Florida, and we're going to speak about that. But we want to know about your beginnings. You're Cuban, you were born in Cuba. When did you arrive in this country, and what had happened then?
So I was born in Cuba and arrived in 1960, I believe, with my family. I was a young girl, and it was, at the time, I just knew that we were leaving Cuba. I remember, we don't recall so many things from our childhood sometimes, but I remember the day I left, and my mother couldn't come with me, so I came with my father and my stepmother, and I remember saying goodbye to her, and in those days they would put little gloves on you because you were going to travel.
I remember that.
And I do remember very vividly, so it must have had a tremendous impact leaving my mother behind because she wasn't allowed to leave with me. And I remember waving at her with my little gloves and my little hat, getting on this jetliner, and I was, I just remember that. I don't really remember, I remember feeling sad, but that was it. But it was a big deal. Because, and then the memories of seeing my father have to go work in a factory.
Wow, that's really.
And then also, not having my mother here with me and not having enough money to have, a nice bed. My brother and I would share, I would sleep on the mattress, he would sleep on the box spring. We would walk to Winn-Dixie to purchase our groceries for the week. And we didn't have enough money for the bus both ways. And so we would walk to Winn-Dixie, and when we had the groceries, then that was enough money to come back.
Well,
so it was, but at the end of the day, I think I still remember those days and those, at least, moments. I remember very early on wanting to, fast forward a few years, me wanting to sell lemonade, be in a lemonade stand.
I know, we've all done that. When you speak about that, I remember when I left Cuba, the same. My mother, we have little hats and all, prepared to go to that trip that was supposed to be an hour and a half or 2 hours. I didn't come to the U.S., I went to Venezuela. But those days were incredible.
Yeah.
And probably, I would like to ask you, because for me, it was like, oh, this is an adventure. You're too young to understand really what was going on.
I was too young to really understand what was going on. But I think as I look back now, and I saw the hardships that my parents went through, and later, a year later, my mother was here, and she had to work 2 or 3 jobs and seeing. So as I started getting older, and you're seeing, you're still 4 or 5, then you're 8, and you're still seeing your parents go through all this hardship. And truthfully, I think that builds so much character.
Oh, it does. For sure it does.
And not taking things for granted and really understanding the sacrifices and the
value of things,
absolutely.
that when you work hard to have something, then you really know the value of it.
Absolutely.
Well, something that similar to happened to me. The only thing is we went to Venezuela and my father died very young when I was 15. So I had to go and work too.
Right.
Because my mother had never worked in her life. Yeah. And I don't know if your parents did the same, but my parents used to say, oh, we're here for a vacation, maybe 8 months, a year, we'll go back. But
same thing. Yeah. Later on, even 2 years after we were here, my father would say, we're going to be going back. we're just going to be here for a little while, and
Exactly
and then
same
we're going to
thing.
be back home, and we're going to have everything that we used to have, and here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
60
And here
years
we are,
later.
You know what?
Oh,
It's
gosh.
great because at the end of the day, I think this country has given us all, as immigrants, an opportunity
Opportunity.
to
And-
build and to grow and to, it's the land of the
And
opportunity.
this is a country that's it. That gives you, if you're a hard worker, if you study, you have that opportunity,
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
it's not like
Yeah.
sometimes in Latin America, which, at what time you went to school here? You
Went to school here. Yep. I
And then-
graduated from college here, and was here, my whole life.
And so, when was the first time, or how did you start working? It was
Oh,
something
wow.
in your head, or something that just happened
You know,
because you were finishing
I
school?
started working probably like you, right? Because you needed to.
I need-
When your father passed
Right.
away, your mother needed the extra income and needed you to go work. So kind of a similar situation. We were in somewhat of a better financial situation by the time I was able to work. But, my father couldn't provide all the things that I wanted. And even, back then I wanted a lot of things. And I always had that drive or that desire to want more and to try to get ahead. And so I went to work. My first job was at a Burger King.
Oh,
And I didn't last very long because I said, this is not for me. I have to be able to do better than this. And, I saw myself like cleaning the tables. And I was like, yuck. Ooh. And I'm like, I got to be able to. But that was a great experience too, because it made me want to get out and fight for something else. So my father at the time was the export manager of this international aircraft company. And I guess he saw in me that opportunity. So I went and worked in his company and helped him. At the time, I had to be the first one there, the last one to leave, show everybody else
yeah,
my
the
work
good old
ethic.
times, how people needed to train their
Prove
children
and prove
and prove
themselves.
themselves.
And so I was to set the example for all the other people that worked in the company. So I remember I would send faxes, and we had no computers back then, and just basically started working there, and then just worked my way from there. What was my other job? I forget. Well, actually, I worked with him for a really, really long time, and just learned a lot of things from him as well.
And then when you decide to go out and prove it yourself, do it, your own way.
I think when I went after I graduated from college, I had an offer from IBM to go work in their marketing department or finance department. I don't even remember back then. And when I told my dad, it was a tough decision because on the one hand, I wanted to go work in corporate America and get that experience, but my father was starting to build this company that I had encouraged him to start, and he goes, why don't you come and work with me? So at that moment in time, I said, this could be a great adventure, and this could be, I love adventure, right?
Oh,
Do you love adventure?
Oh, we do, all of us.
So I went and I started working for his company at the time, which I helped him build that company. I just encouraged him. I had contacts, in the finance world, so I was able to get him the capital he needed and everything that he needed to start Intercontinental Metals at the time. So I went ahead and worked with him, and he was a tough cookie. Right?
Thanks
How was
for
your
those
dad?
parents' tough cookies. Well, I didn't have that opportunity of having my father during that time that I was starting to work, and my mother really had never worked in her life. It was a different way than you.
So basically, but the lessons again that you learn there is, I think basically he taught me all the business principles that you need in life to succeed, whether it was to be humble, to work ethic, integrity, resilience, all the things that are so important for us to be able to go out there and be an example for others and kind of become a leader. And I ask myself, and I'm asking you, what do you think makes a leader?
Well, I think you're born with that.
I agree.
You're born with that. I mean, you can build leaders, but you have to have that inner thing,
Yeah.
knowing that what you do is for the benefit of everybody. That's the first thing of a leader. I think you stand up to do what is best for you, but that also benefits the people
Absolutely.
around.
I agree.
And when that lemonade thing, I think that's a leader. When you say, no, okay, let's do it. We need money. Let's do, and that's an entrepreneurial thing
when
too.
little girls were back in the day playing with dolls and little houses and stuff, even back then, I remember that we would go to this place and we would buy cortaditos and café cubano and Cuban pastelitos, and I remember playing, and my play was I would sell coffee. I would be like one of the counter girls at Versailles selling the coffee and the cortadito to everybody. So, like you said, I think that is something maybe you're born with.
You're born with it.
I think so too.
And then later on, your father sold the company, and then you went on your own.
I went on my own, and I started doing. I was very intrigued by the stock market, and so I started studying technical analysis and subscribe to Value Line, which is sort of this thing that has all these industries that categorizes what industries are poised to do best in that cycle of the economy. And so I started a club, sort of like the Bernstein Club ladies, and started studying the stock market, started studying technical analysis, went to New York for 3-4 days to learn about how to look at graphs in the stock market and determine the formations of those, were they head and shoulder formations, kind of really looking at the graphs telling me the story, and then also doing the analytics. So,
but that's too steady,
Yeah.
something a researcher do, not a magic.
No.
It's
And
not a
so I
magic
realized
thing.
I couldn't be behind that computer all day,
No,
and that I was
forget
really
it.
like,
Me
I'm
either.
really a people person. I love life. I love people. I love to explore. And so I said, no, I don't think I can do this full time. And that's when I started. We had already sold the company, and I thought, well, what can I do that I'm going to really enjoy doing? I love people. I love architecture. I love design. So I said, hey, what about real estate? And that's how the whole thing started, as sort of like a part-time, let me see, I'm just going to take care of some friends, and I'm just going to represent some friends in their real estate needs. And that lasted about 6 months. And of course, I go all in, all the time. Type A personality.
Well, I see you have really built a fantastic company.
Thank you.
She's the CEO of One Sotheby. One Sotheby, I think, has reached a very big reach out, through south of Florida. You can tell us a lot about that. You started at a very bad timing, because 2008 was the really, really tough times to start any business.
It was. I remember wanting that Sotheby's franchise more than I had wanted anything in my entire
remember, I was there.
You were there
at
the opening breakfast. And the opening breakfast for it was December of 2008. And I just knew that we needed a global real estate company in South Florida at the time. And there was none. All the real estate companies were really local companies. And so at the time, I thought, this is a great opportunity. If I can acquire this with the Sotheby's name and the prestige of the Sotheby's name and the heritage of the auction house, and I think that I can build a brand in South Florida and I can grow this. And we had a small boutique. I had a small boutique firm. You remember?
Before you started that.
And we basically just really controlled the Coral Gables market. And at the time, I asked my partner, "Do you want to join me?" And she said, "No,
I want to stay by myself.
Stay by myself, and you go on ahead, and this is a big undertaking that you're about to do, and I'm happy. We had really big control of the Cocoa Palm market, and
she was happy with that.
She was happy with that, and I wanted more, and so I just saw the niche and the opportunity to do that. And imagine trying to, at the time in 2008, which is when I opened, and January of 2009 was my first year of operation. So during that first year of operation, I needed to convince the agents that were with me to have to pay a royalty fee. So I was taking money out of their pocket in a way. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think they all really believed in me and really believed in the brand, and they took the leap of faith. And I'm so proud to say that all the ones that came with me 10, 11 years ago now, I think December was 11 years.
No more.
More, yeah. This December will be 12 years.
12.
They're still with me, and they're still #1 producers. And they embraced the brand, they embraced us, and we just went forward and built. And trust me, I had no money at the time to do this.
I know, I was there. But let me tell us, how did you, what was your feeling? Because there's, behind all of this, when you start a new business and you don't have the money and you have some fear or something, or what did you hear inside of you telling you, go ahead, that's okay?
I think that I go a lot on my intuition, and I think, believe it or not, intuition is also to listen to that inner voice that we all have inside is really important. And they kept asking me, well, tell me about your business plan. And I thought, I really didn't have one, other than the fact that I was going to go out there and work harder than anybody else, and I was going to outwork everybody, and I had the greatest brand behind me. And so I knew that between the brand and my work ethics and the agents that I had with me at the time, I kind of felt that I could just go out there and really and do what I had to do.
So you're telling us, which I know because I've gone through that experience too, that sometimes there is an inner voice that tells you, no matter if the logic says yes or no, I'm going to go and do it.
That's
Even
right.
if the logic tells me, there are bad times, because I'm sure you heard a lot of voices.
They said I was crazy.
This is crazy. This time is not to open any new companies.
yeah.
But there's always
Yeah.
something inside of you
Yeah.
that you know is the right thing to do.
No, absolutely. My heart knew. My heart knew. My soul knew. And it was probably the biggest adventure of all the adventures, because I didn't have enough capital to do it. I didn't know that, I didn't even know the expenses that I was going to incur in order to be able to do this. And listen, there was a time that I was using my credit cards to be able to continue to forward. So it was tough.
Yeah, and you know what? There's something that I've learned also, like you, through the process, which is, on the process, you always think that you're going to make it if you really believe in yourself, because we have to believe in ourselves first in order to do something great,
Right.
And you always have to dream it before you make it.
Absolutely.
If you don't dream it, nothing comes out.
Right.
If you don't walk the pathway,
Right.
you never know, if you should do this or that.
Yeah.
So start when you have something in your inside that tells you,
Absolutely.
do it and
Yeah.
walk,
Yeah.
and everything will come to you, isn't it?
Absolutely true. And I also think that, passion and believing in the actual mission or what you're doing is really important, because when you're passionate about something, that's contagious.
It is.
It's contagious
People
to
around
everybody.
You're right.
And, I think that, if I may interject, you were the one responsible for today. I saw the passion that you had with art,
Oh, yeah.
and how you've dedicated your life, and how you have not only you did it for so many reasons. I think you did it because you wanted to help the artists, and because you did it for the love of art.
The love of it was inside of me all the time. Like you, I didn't have the money sometimes to buy the things that I love, etc. But things come along and they change. Life is never a straight line.
That's right.
It goes back and forth, and we just have to be prepared for it.
Right.
And flow. Go with it. Go with life, and that's what makes you successful. Mayi runs her company together with her son Daniel. She has a beautiful family, a daughter, Alina, and a son, Daniel. Daniel is the president of One Sotheby's, and Alina, I think, works parallel with you. Outside, she's a mother, and
She's working great. She's doing a phenomenal job. She wanted to do it on her own. She wanted no help from me in terms of, she has the client base, she has the relationships. It's still, fortunately, and as much of a techie company as we are, it's still relationship driven in many aspects of our business. Mm-hmm. And she's built like this, her own brand, I think, within our brand, which is the ADLV brand.
That's wonderful.
So I'm very proud of what, she's accomplishing. And, Daniel continues to inspire me, because he continues also with wanting to do more. So we started with the, you know, let's say with the real estate, and now he's looking into developments, and he's looking into, we're building a mortgage company, and we have title, and now we're building a staging company and a company to be able to service some of our listings that are quite not ready to go to market, but that if we do bathrooms and floors, whatever that house needs, we're able helps them
the sale.
sell it for a bigger amount, you know, large.
Well, he's doing exactly what you did for your father.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, he's just repeating the story, you know.
He is.
In the meantime that we are in this stage of our, you can answer, we are willing, Mayi is here to answer any of your questions, so open to any questions from the public when you do want to tell us or ask us something.
You know, it's just, it's, you know, life is interesting, and I think the more, if you keep it interesting, and you've got to put that out there, you've got to challenge yourself. You've got to be more inquisitive. You've got to be more, you know, just not settle. And really, even if you don't, if whatever it is, even if you're an artist, you want to explore, you want to see what materials are out there, it's always about what else is out there. And that keeps it interesting and alive, and it keeps you alive and you know.
Well, we both love the same things, architecture, design, art, because you also love art.
I love art.
And you always want to have art in all your houses, and when you're going to sell a house, you always want to see the art there, because it's true, it's part of our life, art. And
well, I do have
wonderful.
to say to the audience that Ella was, I think, my mentor, and someone that I really admire so much because of who she is, not because she's a world-renowned art collector, but because what she's done with her heart, with her soul. When she's traveled, I've had the great opportunity of traveling with you. So many wonderful trips around the world, and just seeing her and her passion for the artists, for their well-being. The grants and commission programs at CFO have been instrumental in helping so many people.
Thank you.
And, you know, you really were an inspiration to me. You really were.
How
you
wonderful.
were my mentor, my inspiration. And today, the little that I know of art, she's still my encyclopedia. I still go to art shows and text her, do you like this artist? What do you think? Just because, you know, she always says, buy what you like. But there has to be some sort of correlation within.
Into context, of course.
Into context with your collection, but always you have to love it first, and it's true. So thank you for that, because a lot of times I haven't had the opportunity to say thank you.
No, thank you. Let me tell you something. We are mirrors one with the other. I think that for me, looking at you, I see lots of things in you that you're seeing in me. So, you know, life is like that. Our friends, our people, we mirror each other, and we learn from each other a lot, and that's wonderful and great.
Right.
We have a question from our public, which is the biggest challenge for success in the new world? In the new world,
In the men's,
meaning,
I think
you know,
men,
what's coming
in
now.
a men world.
In the men's world, I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, there shouldn't be, because I think you have to position yourself as equal.
Equals, that's true.
And you are just as powerful, and you are just as knowledgeable and as intelligent as any man out there. And so if you believe in yourself, and if you believe that you can do this, you can outsmart them. You can do, you know, anything. What is your take on it?
No,
Ella?
my experience is different, because I was very young in Latin America in the times in which women were not considered almost equal as men.
Right.
For me, it was a real challenge to really work hard to get what I wanted. In the United States, it's different. People are more open, and I'm sure, even though I'm sure that when you were young, you confronted a lot of things, you know, with men, etc. For me, it was really hard. I really had to fight in a world of men to really get where I wanted to be, but I was successful, and I did it, you know. Always thought I could make it, and I did it. So, Mayi, I don't know, are there any other questions maybe that we want to, okay, Instagram's questions. Experience has taught you the most? How to...
Or what experience, maybe what experience has taught you the most?
Okay. Sorry.
What experience has taught me the most? You know, a couple years ago, and people look at people like you and all successful women and men out there, and for the most part, and it's not all fun and games, and it's not an easy ride, you know, for any of us. And I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't share this openly, and I don't share this with many other people because it's really painful for me to go there. I had someone that I trusted very much that was inside my company, that was my personal bookkeeper, and I gave her access to, you know, a lot of things that I shouldn't have given her access to, and one day I turned around and she had defrauded me, and you know, thank goodness it was, you know, personal, but I looked up one day and I thought, my goodness, what happened? So I felt at the time that it was almost like, oh my goodness, everything you've worked, now you've got to start all over again. And, you know, fast forward 4 years and attorneys and, you know, I was able to get some restitution of what happened. But it was a lesson. It was a lesson to never take your eye off the ball.
Well, I have to tell you, I went through the same thing happened to me, you know. I had, in Cuba, you know, that I went back to help the Cuban artists in Cuba, and I had the worst experience. I had an administrator at my house, which I trusted very much, and I gave him all my trust, everything, you know. I even put some of something I bought for somebody in the family on his name, and then he took everything. So, and not only there, I've had that experience twice, because we think that people are all good, or at least I start from that point, and I'm sure you do.
Absolutely.
You start from the point saying, well, everybody should be trusted and everybody's good. So you give them that trust, and sometimes they're not the right people to give them the trust.
That's right.
And you go through all of this pain. It was painful for me too. It has been painful, you know, most of everything for the treason, you know, that means a person that you've trusted. But you know, that makes you stronger.
It makes you stronger.
It makes you stronger. It makes you sometimes being maybe a little bit cold into making some decisions, and that's good too.
That's good.
Because I mean, I still trust people. I have not decided because this person has done this bad to me, I'm not going to trust. I'm going to trust, but I will be more careful.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's part of it.
No, and I think, you know, that was something. And then I think we all are, the audience here is basically, then we were faced with COVID. And I think that's been another lesson, how to live with it, how to make, you know, things better, how to keep your business going. And the resilience that the agents in my company showed and how they continued to show houses, and they were, you know, has really kind of really re-energized me in thinking anything is possible no matter what the hardships are. Because that was another big battle.
There's another question, says how to balance family and work. You go first. Tell them, how do you balance that?
You don't.
It's difficult.
You try to tell yourself you're doing a great job at it, but, you know, I think every day is, you know, I think that I think spirituality plays a really important part in trying to find that balance, whether it's meditation or exercise or time, you know, walks on the beach, or just having that is, but it's hard to do that when you've got a full throttle business that you're probably 14, 15 hours, you know, really.
You're a hard worker.
Yeah, I'm a really hard worker. I mean, I've sat at my desk during this whole COVID. We closed our offices March 15th, and I think I sit there 15 hours a day or 16 hours a day.
More than you do in the office.
More than I even did before, because I need to keep everybody together. I need to make sure that they feel our love from far away, that they feel our touch, that they're, you know, that we're still connected to everybody in the company, whether it's the employees, the staff, which I always say they're my partners, or the agents that are also our partners. It's really important to, but you know, I do balance because I love to exercise, and you know, I love to be in the water, and I love outdoors. So sometimes, like yesterday, I had a terrible headache, and all of a sudden I said, enough, I'm getting off, I'm getting up. I went down to the pool, I just walked up and down the pool, and I was a new woman.
And you do things with your family
I do things, yes. I love to do things with my family, but now with COVID,
It's difficult.
It's very difficult because you never know, like, if you haven't had the virus, you don't know if one of my grandchildren could be a carrier. And so, it's really put us all in a very awkward situation. And, but we continue to have to live in, optimism and hope and not fear.
Well, we are here without anything because I've already went through the COVID, and I have the virus on me, and I
just had the test a couple of days ago, and it was negative.
So we're free. So that's why we keep wearing our mouth covers and everything. Before we go to the next question, I just wanted to say something about balancing work and family. It is very hard because even if you work hard and you give your children everything you have and your husband everything you have, there's going to be a complaint. Always.
And then your friends
it's
too.
Not enough. Yeah. It's not enough. Why weren't you there? Because I was playing baseball and that day you couldn't come, and so forth. That happens. But we have to understand that life is personal, that we don't live the life of our children or the lives of our husbands, or the family is a great place to get together and feel love. But each family member has their own life that they have to accomplish. And I think we need to give our children that security that it is okay to live their lives. And even though we're not present every single moment of their life, that's okay too. That's balance in life, you know. Getting together at the moments that we are free and that we can get, and that moment is just one day, one afternoon. It's a quality time. It's a time to share love, and that's balancing too. Even though we have to work and we have to do our lives and make out of our lives what we can. So we have another question. How are you managing confinement?
Up to this week, I was doing a great job. I was, I had a routine. I'd get up early in the morning. I'd do my meditation. Then I would do some reading. I would, watch the news. I try not to watch it at night with everything that's going on, but, just to be informed and, do some reading or meditation. And then I would sit down and start the Zoom calls, which Zoom has taken over our lives. And I got into a routine. So I'm managing it okay. I have gone back to baking and cooking, which is really good. I mean, what else can I do, And it's been fun because I think when you cook and when you are thinking about, baking and doing things, for a while there I was baking little cakes and cookies and dropping them off in the front door of my grandkids' house because I couldn't go inside because I didn't know. So it was a way I felt to connect with them. So it's been great, but it has lately, this week particularly, I started feeling a little bit more anxious and a little bit more anxiety and not being able to hug the people that I love and not be able, just really, talking to them. And I think it has taken a toll on probably all of us, and I'm pretty strong. And so I made it work because the eternal optimist. And I felt I had a responsibility to my one Sotheby's family to keep them all pumped and together and happy and, positive. But this last week has been really tough for me. I've been feeling it. I've been feeling a little bit of anxiety. So, I think eventually we're going to start having to find safe ways to go out.
Yes,
and go outdoor to a restaurant outdoor and meet some friends and keep your social distancing but life is going to have to go on because otherwise we need people. We need the affection. We need the affection and the love.
For me, it has been different because at first I was in Mexico at the beginning. I already was prepared because I had been in Madrid and I saw what was happening in Italy.
Right.
So I said, okay, we have to start taking ourselves. And before anyone started, I was already cleaning my house, having everybody at home doing things. And I arrived in Mexico, I say, okay, this is going to take a while, and so I'm going to make this time that I'm going to be home. I usually travel a lot, and you know me.
Yeah.
It's 15 days here, 20 days there. I decided I'm going to have to be in place, and I'm going to make this time very useful for me. So I said, I have to finish my novel, So I'm going to dedicate X amount of time for my novel. I'm going to dedicate this time to my business and this time to share with family and friends. So fortunately enough, we have a family next to us, Claribel and the family, and we all stay together. Yeah. And so we swam in the pool and we walked, and it was fine. 5 months like this. I never moved from there. I stayed there. I came back to Miami. I got sick immediately. I stayed with a whole group of people.
Right.
One person came out from the group, and that person was sick, and we all got sick. But thanks to God, we went through it. It was light.
Right.
And that's what causes the anxiety. The anxiety is when you don't know how this sickness or this virus is going to affect you. And I was at the beginning, I said, wow, I'm going to have it. But I was positive. I said, nothing is going to,
I think your attitude
nothing is going to hurt me. And I've been healthy, and I've been taking my my vitamins, and this is not going to be harsh. And it was. Thank God it was. We have a last question. Advice to network and meet people.
How to meet people, you mean?
How to meet people? Advice, how to meet people? I can understand the how to meet. I don't know. What would you say that question is? Because I can.
How to maybe build your network and how to maybe build your network and meet people. You know, I think that when I started, I didn't really have a huge network. And did you have a huge network when you started?
Well, at the beginning, but no. I was friendly and I had a lot of friends. And I think my friends helped me through the way to make things happen for me also.
I think that, I think your friends and even your family and being out there in the community and even helping other people through charities, through art organizations, it's all about that connectivity with other people. And I think that just you have to be out there. And now maybe it's a little tougher, but you can always do it through Zoom.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
And I'm telling you, one thing that I would always tell people when there's friends and younger friends who I say, I meet a man, and how I meet these people, how I said, get out of your circle.
Right.
Usually we tend to be in the same circle, our same friends, and if you don't get out of there, you will never be able to understand how other people live and what are they doing. And the best way to do that is when you get out of your circle, go to a different spa or to a different exercise place or to a different church or to a different place where you usually don't go. And meet new people and understand how the way of life and what are they doing. And that would help, create that network slowly, a new network of people that.
Yeah, I think that's important. To try to have that sense of openness. And
to
adventure.
Understand and meet
and
people.
not hold yourself back because it's familiar and comfortable to be with who you already know. Because
you have to get out of your comfort zone for sure in order to build a network. Well, Mayi, I want to thank you so much for having been with us, having shared your experience with all of our friends, because I'm sure you're all going to appreciate, our experiences and what we've done in life, and it might serve some of you in your daily life. I want you to remember to come to our network next time, to subscribe, to be sure that you know what we're doing in the next coming programs. And I thank you for being here with us. So goodbye, and see you again at Ella Studio. Bye.
Thank you, Ella.